Gather, veterans. It's time to join the fight. The long war begins.
The absence of faith is the mark of the weak. The absence of faith is the mark of the heretic. The absence of faith is the mark of damnation.
This is The Long War. I'm Robbie B, and joining me once again are my partners in crime, Kenny Boucher.
What's up, guys?
Stephen Fore.
Hey, what's up, everybody?
Mike Haspil.
Hey, everyone.
And Jason Craze.
Beep, boop, beep.
Oh my goodness. So 8th edition is out. We got a lot to talk about, but unfortunately I have to jump off here shortly. So I wanted to dive right in to the tabletop market watch real quick, because I don't know if you guys have heard, but there's this thing coming out called 8th edition. But
8th edition Blood Bowl, right?
Yeah, 8th edition bubble. So long story short, we don't have any releases this weekend because everything comes out next weekend, the 17th. But that don't let it stop you from running down.
But don't let it stop Spikey Bits from bringing you that epic content it's known for week after week.
Yeah,
in other words, Rob, all day or day.
I feel like you're. It's like I say something and then you translate it for me to what it really should sound like.
I could do that for you. I actually offer a service.
No, it's great. There is a lot going on. Get down to your local game stores, read those demo copies, get some demo games in, start learning the mechanics, because Little Birdie's told me there will be an FAQ coming out day one that'll clear up a lot of questions that we're having. If you listen to webcasts, you probably already heard a lot of those.
Seriously, like day one DLC? Like day one FAQ?
Day one DLC. Mm-hmm.
Nice. At least we don't have to buy it.
Right.
Day one DLC. Always a controversial thing.
Yeah, no doubt. So what we do know is coming out, and you could at least start pre-ordering them, at least 2 of the books last week, was the new Forge World Imperial Armor. That it doesn't seem like as many people are talking about it, or it's not getting as much press time as maybe it should. I think maybe people are jaded or confused about what's going on with Horus Heresy, but there will be 8th edition rules for Imperial Armor books. There will be 4 books. One is the Space Marines themselves. Then you have an Astra Militarum book. Then you have a Xenos book. And last but not least, our friends in the Eye of Terror will be getting their own book as well. I actually forget how much they are. I think they were like $20 or $30. They're actually pretty reasonably priced for a hardcover book, and I was extremely surprised by that. So I'm all on board on that one. They did release the table of contents for each one, and I'm not going to tell you what's in each one, but I'm going to run down real quick the stuff I saw that is in each one that's kind of surprising. So first up, we all know, we've seen the previews. There was the Castle Leviathan. We saw the Brass Scorpion. We saw the Spartan tank so far. So those are all really great examples of how stuff might work in the new edition, which is really, really awesome. I'm super stoked for the Brass Scorpion, super stoked for the Spartan. The transport capacity and the quad blast cannons look really, really cool. Don't have the points, though. We don't know how many points they are, but I can confirm that in the back of each of these books, there will be all the stuff you need, to field them in your games. Like in the appendices, you have the war gear, then you have the different sections on weapons, and it looks like the melee weapon stats and stuff too. So it looks like everything's in there thus far.
Robbie B, do you have any knowledge bombs on all of Forge World's books? Or, we saw a release or information out saying that they're supposed to be out by, it cover all the factions by the end of June.
Yeah, so the first 2 that you can that are on pre-order right now for, I guess, shipment on the 17th are Chaos and Space Marines. And then at the end of the month will be the Xenos book, and then also Astra Militarum. So
fresh.
Yep. So running down the Astartes real quick, it looks like something new in there that I noticed right off the bat was a Relic Sicaran Punisher assault tank, which looks to be the Sicaran tank that they showed at Warhammer Fest that had a Gatling gun on top. So I hadn't seen that one before. That one looked cool. Looks like they're incorporating rules for the Mastodon tank into here. So it's finally getting official 40K versions of rules, along with the Thunderhawk assault gunship, which will probably be the new version, and the Sokar pattern Stormbird, which is the much bigger version of the Thunderhawk. I think it's like $1,000 to pick up that one there. That was all I saw that looked super juicy on the Space Marine side. Then it also has the Imperial Armor characters, and if you remember some of those all OG characters like Magistar Severin Loth and Tiberius the Red Wake, you know, some of those folks that kind of had a big impact in 5th and kind of into 6th and never really got a fair shake of rules in the 6th and 7th edition. Well, it looks like they're coming in hot to 8th edition, so I can only imagine what we might see from, you know, Severin Loth right off the bat right there, because, you know, you saw him in a lot of armies back in the day. Kind of hopeful it does. He's got some good stuff there. For all the folks that were upset about the Vendetta not being in the Imperial Guard,
I am chief among those people who are infuriated.
Well, it is in the Astra Militarum book that will be out at the end of the month, or at least go on pre-order at the end of the month. That was the biggest stuff I saw that was juice.
I'm going to interrupt Rob. Valkyrie Vendetta, this is what I was, 3 twin link glass cannons is what it is always had.
Yeah.
Okay. A vehicle with airborne rule with potentially 6 las cannon shots. Seems pretty good.
That seems really good. Las cannons are unreal. And that's the airborne rule affects anybody with fly. Is that correct?
So I don't think you can be airborne and not have fly.
Yeah, you're fly airborne, and then like if you're airborne, only people with fly can assault you or something like that.
Right, because if you're airborne, you have to have fly because you have to be able to bounce out of combat, or else.
I meant to say it. I apologize in reverse. So if I'm the Valkyrie, the Vendetta, and I want to shoot my 6 las cannons, I'm not just stuck with shooting flyers. If I'm not mistaken, it's anybody with the fly special rule. Mm-hmm. The keyword
troop. So assault troops, jet bikes, things like that.
Absolutely, the entire Tau army almost.
Yep. Yeah.
You know, like you're shooting at good ballistic skill at Riptides. You know, you're shooting at good ballistic skill at Assault Marines, at Dante. I mean, it's a new game, like Vendetta good.
It definitely has potential there. Also in the same book, it looks like they're incorporating the Titan Legions. The Warlord Battle Titan looks to be finally getting rules for Warhammer 40K and not just 30K, because the only actual rules for the Warlord were in Book 5, Tempest, of Horus Heresy. So porting it over to 40K, who knows how good it'll be. I can tell you what, right now, there's models that already have as many wounds as the Warlord Titan had in 7th edition. So that's going to be really exciting to see.
How many wounds does it have, do you think?
Do I think?
Yeah.
I don't know.
I actually have one. I donated it to the LGS, but I print out the rules, and then anybody who wants to use it can use it in their game.
Which Titan?
The Warlord.
The Warlord? It has 30 hull points in 7th edition, right?
Yeah, in 7th.
Yeah.
So, I mean, triple that number, right?
I would say at least 75, 80.
Or $1 million, I think is what it is.
Might as well be $1 million at that point.
And it's power level over 9,000.
Definitely over 9,000. At GW, if you came in clutch and you just gave this thing 9,001 power level, oh my God.
That's for the Imperator, though, I think. Not for the Warlord.
Also, the Questoris Knights are on here, too. All of the Forge World versions of it are going to be in the Astra Militarum. And then in the Dirty Dirty Xenos book, I didn't really look at it that close, to be quite honest. But Juice, they do have the Man, the Myth, the Legend, and the Master on in here. So he'll be getting his rules.
Shut the front door.
Nope, he's in here for sure. And now, all the normal characters that I see here, I can't tell if anything's air quotes missing, but it looks like Tal has the lion's share of rules, and of course the Eldar as well.
All right, I just pulled you.
Hold the fuck.
Hold on. I've literally just been talking ever since Rob said Damashron, but I've realized I'm muted myself, and I've been talking so I just need to stop the show right here. Can you just get out any kind of magnification that you need to call? Do anything that you can do. I need some rules. Give me something. Give me power levels. Give me how many inches. At this point, you can make something up to satisfy my thirst for knowledge.
All right, I got this. You ready?
Yes.
It's on page 17.
Hey, you did exactly what I requested. Thank you, Robbie B.
I can confirm it is on page 17. Gotcha, Doc. and then for the Chaos book, this is probably the most juiciest of all of them. If you're into Chaos and always think, well, hey, we should have Chaos versions of all the Imperial stuff.
Nobody's into Chaos.
Nah, that's not a real thing. That's a myth. Chaos is a myth. So the Hellforged, I guess, I don't know what that is, but it's the heading. It's called the Hellforged. Apparently that's, I guess, the Traitor version, but it's some sort of demon version of Traitor Astartes tanks. They list pretty much everything. Achilles, Proteus, Contemptor Dreadnought, Scorpius, Sicarans, the Charybdis, the Dreadclaw. You get the Mastodon, the Falchion, the Fellblade, all the heavy hitters. Everything looks to be ported over to Chaos, a Chaos version. And then you got the stuff that we all know and love, like the Helltalon, the Hellblade. They got the Storm Eagle, Fire Raptor, a Chaos version of Thunderhawk. Like, I'm loving this. They even get a Chaos Warlord Battle Titan. So, okay. And, of course, Chaos versions of all the Renegade Knights, the Acheron, the Lancer, the Castigator, the Atropos, all of them. The Porphyrion and Styrax. And, not to be outdone, the Lords of Ruin section has something called a Chaos Hellrite and a Chaos Hellrite on Dark Band, which I assume is some sort of Dark Mechanicum unit hiding in plain sight right there, or just a Chaos version of a Loyalist Dark Mechanicum unit or mechanical unit there. So very cool stuff. You know, once we finish digesting all this 8th edition normal stuff, all this is going to come out, and it's going to be back to the drawing board and trying to figure all this stuff out too. So it's a very, very exciting time, not only from the Forge World side, but also just 8th edition in general. You know.
Yeah, couldn't agree with you more, and especially with all the releases and having the release of that FAQ is going to be massive. Talking about June, end of June, like download Information Central. Like I need to, Robbie B, can I borrow your Matrix plugin that I can like tap into the back of my spine and just download all this information?
Okay, this is going to sound sad, but I actually did take the 19th off of work. So I could stay home and read all the new rules.
I want you to know, Haspil, I was on a different wavelength when you said that. I know this is kind of sad. I thought you were going to say I am building one of those Matrix portals that I can tap myself into.
Well, that goes without saying. I mean, that's just normal everyday
obviously
stuff.
One of those in my man cave right now.
Yeah, that has nothing to do with 8th edition. That's just normal status.
So what is going to be the first thing? You've got the 19th off. That's that Monday. Are you reading all the rules? Have you already got games lined up? Where are we at?
Well, the 17th, I'm actually running a 3-game event at our store, starting at noon. So you come in and pick up all your stuff at 10, and we're doing a 100 power level event, doubles event. So 50 points for each person. And you can change your armies after every game. You can change opponents and partners after every game. So even though it's a doubles event, you can just switch up whatever. And our goal is to get as much dice down, actually moving miniatures down across the table as we can, as fast as we can.
I love how you did that, Haspil. You called it a tournament, but it's really just organized play. And
Yep.
what brings people together is competition. You just say that people are going to be competing in some form of tournament, and people are going to show up because that's what's in our blood, So what a great idea. There's actually a lot of shops. If you're able to listen to this show before the 17th, use this as a tool that Mike Haspil has just come up with. That's great. So you guys ready to kind of get into the meat and potatoes yet? Or do we have the legendary Jason Craze from Slow Fuse Gaming giving us some details on what is new and cool on Twitch?
Not a lot new going on this week, guys. Twitch has been like smooth sailing, business as usual. We've had a lot of great content. We had a good kind of open world discussion, I guess, on Monday night with the one and only Robbie B and Kenny Boucher, where we dug into a little bit of rules lawyering on the new 8th edition stuff. That was cool. It's nice to see our group is expanding out and the horizons are getting bigger. Obviously, we talked about the Eats Lab coming from you, Juice, in the near future. We talked about that last week. So I think the group as a whole, Twitch is becoming more and more of a great stew of really cool stuff that we can start doing. We've got lots of things changing around all the channels, bringing new content. We've talked about how it's an amazing platform. We just need to reach out. Everybody that's out there listening right now, turn to the person to your left and your right, or get on the social medias and let all your friends know, man. Those of you that come and hang out with us on Twitch, you know how great it is. Spread the word. Let's keep bringing more people into this media that gets everybody so excited about the hobby.
Do you know, Jason, is so unbelievable how many people watch us and will come up to me, will message me about, I'm excited about, love hearing the podcast. I love this and this, and know nothing about Twitch.
Nothing. That's the thing is like right now it's all about outreach. It's all about bringing all the people that listen to the podcast and enjoy the information they're getting and realize that, hey, if you want an extension about everything that gets talked about here in a live environment where, I mean, the great thing about the Long War podcast is that we are it's a live environment. We're all just off the top of our head. None of this is scripted, so to speak. And it's the same thing carried on in Twitch. Bring it in and hang out with us. We may be painting a model. We may be doing some sculpts. We may just be sitting around talking about new rule sets, but it allows you to get that feedback instantaneously. It's that instant gratification where you can come in, get something off your chest, ask a question that's been bugging you, talk to the community, make friends. You know, it doesn't get any better than this. Literally, I think the best media that we have for this hobby is right now underneath everybody's nose, and we just got to get more people into it.
You guys don't script your lives?
I try to, the best I can try to shoot for is scripting my shits once in a while, but I want you guys to know it's been a while since we've had a good poop story, and it was almost DEPCON 5 today, or DEPCON 1, excuse me. It was to the point where I'm with my lady coming back from an appointment, and we were like at that 5 mile mark to the safe zone, which is my house. And, no easily accessible stops between there and there. He was able to finally witness don't talk to me right now, heavy breathing, slapping the steering wheel, almost shit myself situation. I
don't mean to laugh at you. I'm not really trying to laugh. I'm just saying.
I just hope that one day I can do it and catch it on camera, soundbite, or something, because it'll be an experience. It's going to be worth it. Somebody will pay for it.
Okay, I have to ask a question. We got to kind of stop normal flow right now, and I have to ask a question to everybody that's sitting here with us on the podcast that may or may not have been answered in the past. But this is a crucial question to understand for the public to understand more about us, and for each of us to understand more about each other. I want everybody to answer this simple question: do you fold or do you wad?
I absolutely fold.
I don't even know what you're talking about.
I absolutely fold. Jason, I'm even going to take it to one step further. I am to the point now where I fold, and I have my next folded one on the counter next to me ready to go.
Fantastic.
So I can go back to back.
Fantastic.
I literally have no idea what you're
a barbarian. If you don't understand the question, barbarian raised in a barn. Just saying.
Yep. Hand. Sometimes he will wash his hand afterwards. That's it.
Maybe he washes his hands afterwards. I see a bunch of people in chat. Folders. Fantastic.
I washed my hand before. Because I'm not gross.
He's only concerned with his own health and well-being. He's not concerned with the rest of us. Haspil?
I said wad.
Oh, Haspil's a water.
Wow.
All right. I have to say that for efficiency's sake, and I'm going to go out on a limb here, is that I fold, and then depending on the level of
crustaceans.
Well, yeah, okay. So depending on how many barnacles you get with the fold,
feces.
Right,
are we talking?
You might then have enough left to where if you fold over the fold and wad a little bit, you could get double the pleasure out of it. I'm just saying
a twofer
because I am efficient with the TP.
I'm just like if you have to go in a bay, you don't have time to fold, so that's why I wad.
That's true, man. Sometimes there's reasons.
All right. Well,
sometimes there's 20 other people there.
Well, it couldn't be a long war podcast if we didn't talk about poop. But anyway, let's hear from our sponsors. Let's take a quick commercial break, and then let's talk about the meat and potatoes of our first impressions of Warhammer 8th edition. ElrixHobbies.com is your exclusive portal to upgrading your hobby. When you sign up at thelongwar.net, you gain an instant promotional discount good for 10% off at Elric's Hobbies. ElrixHobbies.com.
Dear veterans, quickly! Make your way to thelongwar.net and find out how to reap your hard-earned spoils of this long war. For our allies at secretweaponsminiatures.com have rewarded us all with an extra 10% discount on all Secret Weapon Miniatures merchandise. So stock up, dear veterans, and enjoy.
Veterans, I've got news for you. Get your best deals online at dicehead.com. Long War Vets, call or email for your best vet deals. That's dicehead.com.
Pooping feels good. Poop like me, you wish you could. Wipe my butt, I wish you would. Poop your pants, I think you should. I poop in the ghetto, I poop in the hood. I'm an OPG, original poop gangster. I poop right in your face, pull down my pants, and I give you a taste. They call me Mr. McPooper. I poop while I'm watching Hanging with Mr. Cooper. I got a poop scooper, my poop super. I drink the Cooper, peach schnapps. Gotta watch for the cops. When I poop in public, this shit is sick.
And we're back. 8th edition, first impressions. We're going to lead this discussion with Juice on a very controversial subject of 2-up armor saves. Juice, go.
All right. So we just got out of the Beats lab out of a rigorous 72-hour throwdown from reading rules, arguing rules amongst ourselves. It was unreal. One thing that I came out of this saying, I said it on at the end of Friday, all day Saturday, confirmed all my emotions on the end of Sunday. I am not a believer in anything that has a 2-up armor save. That is I haven't seen a tank with a 2-up armor save. So if he's rocking toughness 8, I will retract my statement to anything like that. But I'm talking about specifically Centurions, Terminators, anything like that. I don't believe I don't think they're the ones that we all thought. It does, in my opinion, not translate over to give them 2 wounds and only giving them a 2-up save. And I say only. Let's caveat that. You're like, oh, well, how does it get any better? I don't know. They should automatically, if you're a Terminator, you should automatically have a 5-up ward save. But let me just put it in perspective. A heavy bolter, my individual favorite weapon for the profile. It fits all my criteria that I want. I like strength 5. I don't really care about strength 6, 7, or 8. It's either 5 or 9 for me. No really in between. The reason why I say that is because most things I'm going to either wound on a 3 because I'm higher than, or I'm going to need 5s. That's all that there is. Does that make sense? Like it doesn't. It is very hard. I want to
clarify. When you say ward save, you mean feel no pain?
Yes. Excuse me. I'm sorry. Instead of a ward save, yes, I'm going to feel no pain. That they should automatically, if Terminator honors, should automatically give you a 2-up, even a 2-up, 6-up.
Right.
It should just come with that.
It's to the point that we mentioned earlier is that all these extra wounds, all this stuff, it's all arbitrary. It just scales with where the game's at.
Yeah.
2 wound Terminators are great. That just protects you from las guns and bolters.
That's all that does. Because let me tell you what it doesn't protect you from is a strength 5 -1 rend AP and 15 shots of that. I'm not even saying like I don't really care about shooting at you with just one of those, because anything that is strength 5 and only -1 it's in the realm of death spitters that are assault 3, heavy bolters that are heavy 3, assault cannons, that are even better. But, so it is unreal that now a 5-man Terminator unit, which in all reality, they should be impervious to a heavy bolter, in my opinion. But now a 5-man Terminator unit just is, in all reality, has to save like it's a 10-man Space Marine squad.
But what the cool thing is, like, so the contrast, that is the cool thing is it also makes certain weapons matter more. Like when I played these video games and I get like, remember Space Marine? Fucking goddamn heavy bolter was the truth in that game. How baller did you feel, Haspil, when you braced up with your heavy bolter and you just sprayed down some fools in Space Marine?
Oh yeah, I love that, man. It felt like a powerful weapon instead of just being like, it's just
5 points.
It shoots one more than a storm bolter.
Yeah, and so they finally made that feeling, and so I feel that. So I like the idea. Like, so that's what it is. It's great. It's a great lowering of expectations. A 2-up armor save is the basis of most Death Stars in 40K 7th edition because the way AP works, you need to be AP2 to bypass it. Now everything in the game essentially is at least -1 AP that's above a basic weapon. And now they're Space Marines. Like that's a totally different map. That's literally half as good. You kill twice as many is what that means. So it makes the weapon feel stronger. So the fire feels stronger. But the Terminator does have 2 wounds. He does have cool abilities. So just lower the expectations. 2-up saves aren't going to tank everything in the game like they used to.
But a 2-up
at all.
Yeah, a 2-up save is not what it was. Like you cannot just say I'm going to march my 2-up saves across the table. I am going to. I really want to start putting them through the gauntlet in my own Beats lab to figure out what they can actually stand up to. Because, and this is why I say this, if I shoot 15 shots at strength 5, hitting on 3s, wounding on 3s, and you just have to make 3-up saves, that's all you've got. You have a, just so people understand what I'm saying, they come with a 2-up save, -1 rend, makes you have a 3-up save. It doesn't matter if you have a 3 invulnerable. It doesn't matter if you have a 5 invulnerable. If you don't have a ward save, you don't get both of them. So here we are. With my 15 shots, I have hit and wounded with
kills 2.2 Terminators.
9. Yeah, I've killed 9. I've wounded 9 times. That's 2.5 Terminators dead. So in a last edition, that would have been maybe 1 Terminator dead. So that is a massive difference. The wounds, if they would have had,
well, I mean, that's literally what we just said. Twice, you killed twice as many. It's twice as effective.
But so some things in the game we have seen where they've gotten a good.
But Juice, real quick, that's 2.2 wounds. See, this is my point. You don't even kill 2 Terminators. You see what I'm saying? Like it's not that. So here's the game genius. So the heavy bolter, by the firer's perspective, feels as powerful as it feels in those video games. It feels like you're doing something. I don't waste a goddamn everyone's time on the table, right? Simultaneously, we already said that 15 shots converts to 6.6 wounds, which in the 2-up armor save world is roughly 1 Terminator dead in 7th edition. In the 8th edition world, roughly 1 Terminator dead, 2.2 wounds. You see? So, end of the day, you've roughly killed. You've done twice as many wounds, twice as much damage. You killed the same amount of Terminators. So the fire feels powerful because he's doing something. The guy who's receiving the damage feels powerful because he only lost 1 model. Both players have a feel goodsies at the same time while negating the feel badsies. I love that, actually.
Yeah, I mean, it sounds polite and completely understandable if math comes into effect. Absolutely. But we all know the difference between making a bunch of 3-up saves and making a bunch of 2-up saves. Is a completely different realm, right? So, I mean, in my experience, you know what I mean?
Bad luck can plague a 3-up save twice as more frequently as it can plague a
2-up save. You know what I mean?
That's the other math. That's the other math. Like statistically speaking, don't matter.
Yeah, and again, it's all nice and polite if statistics happen every round. But what happens if turn 1, you just lose 4 Space Marines to 2 squads heavy bolters? Now, for the rest of the game, you might roll very average or even above average, but you've already gotten such a sour taste in your mouth that my Terminators that should be more epic, and who knows, maybe people don't have that same expectation that I did because Terminators were not epic last edition. But I feel like there was a false sense of hope, I guess is my main point. When I picked up Terminators, when I test played some Paladins.
Be prepared as a person who uses Terminators to realize that bad luck can happen twice as often as it used to.
And that's what I'm saying is because it was one of my, because obviously everybody knows I'm a NID player. I love Night Titans. I love all these other things, Warcon. But one of the couple units outside of the NID army that I'm playing is that I was excited to get on the field was my Terminators. I have them in all different flavors, whether it's Gray Knights or Blood Angels. I've got all these cool things and I love them. And it was one of the things that I walked away with was, damn. They're not fixed. They're not what I want. Furthermore, I think Centurions are the exact same way. I think Centurions are going to get gibbed by, just mass bolter fire and anything else just because of modifiers. Anything with a -1, -2 rend that normally they would just shrug off before is really going to start putting a hurt into armies. Either way, we all know how much of a fan Kenny and I, specifically me, of heavy bolters and assault cannons. I love them. And I am so happy with that profile. It makes me giddy inside. I'm like, this is exactly what I want to make a heavy bolter scary again.
No, it works.
Sister Retributor squads with all heavy bolters is a fucking thing, ladies and gentlemen. I'm here to tell you, my Ravengers, every one of them have an 18-inch Death Spitter that is a heavy bolter profile. Razorbacks.
You flying or jumping Primaris Marines. They essentially have heavy bolters on their guns there.
Sure. I mean, it is anything that's got that quality. And again, once you look at the chart on what it takes to wound, you'll see why I'm in love with Strength 5 -1 Rend, is because that is, in my opinion, from what I'm looking at now, is the sweet spot for points, how much it costs in points versus that Strength 8 -4 Rend. Because in all reality, if I just double my shots, I am going to be pretty as effective as that -3 Rend, high strength, because we both really need 5s to wound.
That's where the game is at. The game is basically a math game. When you're looking at weapon profiles, you're like, oh, technically strength 8 wounds on 2s, right? And basically removes the armor save. But they still have a 3, like you said, if they're Storm Shield, because basically Storm Shield not an armor terminator.
Yeah, it's a 3-up save, so I can shoot a melt-a-gun or a heavy bolter, and the Space Marine, the Terminator with a Storm Shield, has to make the same save, which is unreal. And
so
again,
there might be the D6 wounds afterwards, so you're probably guaranteed to kill a Terminator. But that's where the game's at. So I mean, like I said, I think it's very deliberate. I think that there is. Like we talked about this very early on when we made our predictions, that all these new wounds, all these cool shits, don't look at them like, it's so much better than it was. Don't scale it with 7th, because Nathan, shit just kills.
Shit just dies. And exactly. And you know what, Kenny, we talked about it, and in my heart of hearts, it was one of those. I had some stipulations. All of them came true in spades for my NIDs. I couldn't be any happier as a NID player, but I'm also a 40K player. So, I've got a lot of loves in the game outside of this, secondary loves. And I really want the Terminator to come through. And it's not done. We still haven't seen what happens
Terminators
with individual rules.
And charge your ass in turn 1.
Absolutely.
So
and we don't know the layers yet of finding the combos and finding things. So I'm not closing the book on the Terminator, but first look, 8th edition rules, test playing 72 hours in the Beats lab on the pros and cons. I had to put Terminators with a 2-up save, or not even just Terminators, anything, Centurions, Terminators like that with a 2-up save was not what I thought it could be.
Haspil, let's talk about some more 8th edition first impressions. Now, you are the words person. Is that the
a languager? I think
a languager
is the technical term.
Technical term. So, bring us those languages. What's your first impression?
So I went and I was looking at the rules as well, but I went and looked at the rule book and looked at the first 100 or so pages with all the crazy fluff in there. And when GW has been saying they've been advancing the storyline, they're not lying. And one of the cool things, it's like, how we would sit back and talk about how, man, do you remember that one campaign where they had everybody back and forth, everybody could sign up and you got like a number, and you would report your games into a central thing. And I'm trying to remember what it was called now.
Ranking HQ, maybe?
No, not Ranking HQ. This was an actual GW website. And it was
like back in the Eye of Terror campaign?
No, this was after that. This was in 4th edition, and it is since just I've lost it. I had it on the tip of my tongue until you asked me about it. Now it's gone. But it was essentially a planet. All the factions were in on it. When you signed up for it, you got a number, and you could sign up for whatever your faction was. And Fall of Medusa 5. Thank you, Mad Larkin. You just saved me. That's what it was called, right? Well, we were talking about that the other day and just going, man, remember, I wish GW would bring some of those worldwide campaigns back. Well, they are. They're bringing it. It's called The Fate of Konor. I might be pronouncing that completely wrong, which is apparently one of the primary planets in the 500 Words of Ultramar. A campaign, full-on campaign, kicks off in July, worldwide campaign, and it will be tied into the fluff just like the Eye of Terror was. So whatever happens gets written into the story. So it's like, wow, G-Dub, like, way to go, you know? And then they already announced we're getting chapter approved at the end of the year. I happen to think that what chapter approved is going to be is going to be that rebalancing of the game 6 months after it launches, where they go, okay, this was super broken, or this was not powerful enough, or these rules are dumb and nobody uses them, or these rules are dumb and people didn't.
And there's a lot of precedent for that. Remember, we made predictions a while back that GW's put on their big boy pants now, and they're real people now. Like other game systems, P3 and, Corvy's Belly, fucking Magic, Wizards of the Coast. These motherfuckers are constantly fixing issues, and GW has been more and more and more on that. And now they've clearly begun the intro to that by reaching out to the community, finding the influencers. They did that with the General's Handbook, and now they've done that very recently with 8th edition, reaching out to people like Frontline Gaming. So, it's, to me, it's clear as day that GW is not fucking around anymore.
Yeah, and the whole like changing the fluff thing, if you remember, I think it was there was a card game, I think it was Legend of the Five Rings, that had like the Rat Clan and all that stuff in there. They actually would adapt stuff based on how the tournaments went. Like they actually would change the fluff based on who won or whatever. It was pretty crazy.
Yeah, I mean, a solid business move by GW. I love the fact that how interested they are with the players, how they reached out to certain individuals and are basically using their social media platforms to push all the different rule changes to get that data that they need, instead of just open it up to forums where people come on and say how well they are, whatever they are, and never gets a point across. So, I mean, we are at the 4th edition golden age of 40K all over again, as long as they can keep up. I want to make sure we caveat that. They have to, we talked about a rules discussion that has been, I guess now we can say it's been talked about quite a bit on a couple different platforms. But for example, line of sight. How does line of sight work? I know that everybody's going to say it just works so easily like this, right? It just works. You can always just see 360. It's just anything else. So, but that's not rules as written. That's not how it is. That's not this. I am excited to see what GW comes when they start bringing out these chapter books like they're going to do and everything else. I'm excited to see them updating things and basically having a dog in the fight.
Well, what's crazy is with Rob announcing that they're going to have like day one DLC, essentially, that kind of blows me away.
What do you think it's going to be, like day one DLC?
Well, but that blows me away that they're on top of things that much to go, yeah, we're going to have an FAQ the day of launch. Like, we're on top of it, guys. Like, that blows me away that they even have it. You know what I mean? So that's pretty kick-ass. But if I could transition real quick, now this is going to be spoiler heavy if you like fluff. So you may want to like fast forward if you're not watching us live or whatever. If you're watching us live, you're about to get spoiled.
Cover your ears.
So I'm not going to give you all the details because I didn't have time. I just sat in the game store and just kind of flipped through the fluff, and I jotted down notes and stuff. So some of the stuff that I have might be wrong because I just jotted down like keyword notes to myself. I didn't try to like write out or copy everything that was in there. But okay, so here's a couple of things. We know that the galaxy is separated by the Great Rift now. And everything. What that means, though, is that Great Rift has effectively just severed the galaxy, not only in transport way, but that means that the guys on the other side of the rift from Terra cannot see the astronaut can. Like, they literally can't make contact with Earth. So you've got a bunch of Space Marine chapters on the other side of that Great Rift that are on their own. They're just, stuck on their own out there doing whatever. So that's some awesome potential for narrative play, for them to take stories in a new direction. I'm just going to run through a bunch of these really quickly because I have quite a bit, actually. One of the funny things that stood out is that Roboute Guilliman is freaking everywhere. Apparently, he is not affected by warp storms or anything. He literally shows up just about everywhere. And yeah, somebody in the chat just said Blood Angels, cough, Blood Angels. Yes, the Blood Angels are on the wrong side of the rift. Baal or Baal, however you pronounce it.
I always knew Baal was fucked.
Yeah, they're
goddamn Blood Angels, so chaos.
Yeah, so they're not only in deep trouble because of that, but they were almost wiped out. This is according to the book, almost wiped out by High Fleet Leviathan. And the Warp Rift actually saved them because the High Fleet couldn't get to the entire chapter.
Wait, hold on a second. So chaos shit saved them at the last second, and that's a coincidence?
So here's a couple other ones, and these are just going to whet your palate because I just wrote down like headlines. You know what I mean? So it's news. Mortarion attacks Ultramar, and there's probably going to be a big old fight between the brothers, between RG himself and Mortarion.
You can do a better announcement than that. Fish this in. Brothers at war. Mortarion bitch slaps Roboute Guilliman.
Let's see. Let me see if I can. How could I do that?
An unnamed plague. Mortarion attacks Ultramar.
Buy war bonds now.
That was good.
That was the one.
All right. So Armageddon, which is like the garden spot of the Imperium. I mean, let's face it, everybody vacations there. It's just awesome. You know, well, Armageddon has been hit by such a huge warp storm that it is literally split in half. And one of the halves is a demon world where Khorne is fighting Tzeentch. And the fighting got so intense that orcs and humans actually teamed up to fight against chaos. that happens. Let's see.
Even the orcs were like, that ain't right.
Yeah, and so they had to fight together to prevent them from re-summoning Angron to the world. That's what they were trying to stop.
That's like my favorite shit. That's like all they do in Armageddon is try to summon
they just
Angron. That's like your own
Angron back.
That's like your one thing, Armageddon.
So it's like so that's kind of important. Let's see. Apparently the plans for the Primaris Marines have been around for 10,000 years. So it's like Belisarius Cawl actually had the plans to build the Primaris Marines before Guilliman was put into stasis. And he built a whole ton of Primaris Marines over time. But during the Indomitus Crusade, which is this one thing that Roboute Guilliman starts, because I guess the fluff in the book takes place about 100 years after the events in the Gathering Storm. So, but the Indomitus Crusade is something that happens in between there. And the Primaris Marines get a lot of them wiped out, like a ton of them get wiped out. And they are called something special. They're called like the Unnumbered Sons of the Primarch. And they it's kind of angry. Like they wind up getting divvied up by all the chapters. And apparently Belisarius Cawl thinks that the flaws in the gene seed, like the Black Rage or Mark of the Wolfen, etc., can be cured. Now, it doesn't say whether or not it has been cured in the Primaris Marines. It just says it can be cured.
Look, this is all I have to say. Now I know why the Imperium is getting their ass kicked by the Hive Fleets, is because you're sitting on a gold mine like Primaris Marines for 100,000 years, however many years you said. Are you kidding me? Call. The Emperor needs to get off his ass and start like walking around with a bigger stick and being like, yo, I'm losing chapters left and right here. You know, we need to wake all the Primaris Marines up.
Yeah. So here's another one. Speaking of the Emperor, right? So there's this huge rumor going around that the Emperor might be dead based on a little part of the book that has been kind of scratched out or redacted, and the words "Master of Mankind" dead show up, like they're barely legible on the bottom. But there are rumors, and it's implied in this book that actually Guilliman spoke to the Emperor psychically, and 100 years later, he is still suffering from the psychic aftershocks. And apparently, what the emperor told him, he wasn't real happy with. like the emperor was just like, "Oh, you're not my son. I just use you. You're
number 4. You're always good.
You're not my favorite kid." The favorite being Lehman Russ, of course. We all knew that.
Yeah, obviously. No.
Let's see a couple other ones. Oh, this one's big. So there's this one is big as far as a fluff wise. So everybody who everyone who's a fluff hound who kind of has issues with, hey, wait a minute, this doesn't make sense because how could this happen? And then 100 years later, this happened. Well, there is a thing going on called the Chrono Strife, and it's basically a massive argument within the Ordo Chronos, which is an order of the Inquisition that takes care of time and dating in the Imperium. So the problem is that due to all the different warp storms and ships coming and going and everything like that the Imperial dating system is completely broken. And they actually do not know what year it is. So depending on where you are in the Imperium, it could be M41 or M42, like literally 1,000 years off. They don't know. So I feel like that's GW going, any problems with the fluff are tied to that. And it's a great solution because you're talking about galaxy spanning distances here. So it's very possible, especially when you go into the warp and time just stops having all meaning. It's very possible that could happen. So I thought that was actually really, really cool. And then they snuck in another big piece of fluff in here, that there was actually an assault on Terra, on the Imperial Palace, by a Khorne army. And they were able to say, obviously, yeah, Khorne. Yeah. So they were able to be repulsed by Robuk Guilliman again. And that's why I said he's like everywhere. The Primaris Marines, and I guess the Sisters of Silence, and the Custodes, of course. So it's just it's absolutely insane, all the stuff that's been going on. And I forgot to look. I was just looking through stuff really quick. I forgot to look if they actually physically assaulted Terra or somehow came through the webway that's underneath the Imperial Palace. It seems to me like, in hindsight, that they came through the webway, that I don't think they would have made it, all the way to Terra, just kind of brute forcing their way there. That doesn't seem to make sense.
Well, if someone could brute force their way to Terra, it'd be the Khorne.
That is true. That is true. But yeah, so there is a lot of stuff that they're advancing the story, and I'm just like, it's nuts, but I'm loving it. This is what we've wanted, And I thought it was also interesting that on GW's website they posted, when they post the thing for 8th edition, it says the game that you wanted or the game that you asked for. So it's almost like they're taunting us, like, hey, you guys can't complain about this because we're giving you everything you asked for. And I'm like, fair enough.
Point taken. Solid intel from our languager, Mike Haspil.
Our languager.
That's right.
Let's finish out the 8th edition first impressions segment with the last piece. We brought this up earlier in the webcast when we were talking about the battle shock phase, aka morale, aka bravery, now being in 8th edition. Remember, we started off this segment talking about 2-up armor saves and lowering your expectations. Try to just give you guys that insight that, this is how we experienced it and this is kind of we felt about it. Try to help you not go through the same pain that maybe sometimes we go through based on observation. And so what we noticed, so we're talking about morale now. MSU tactics, if you guys don't know what that is, that's multiple small units versus big large units. And historically, GW has kind of wanted us to play big units and kind of like steered us away from multiple small units, MSU style play. But right now, with morale, the way battle shock works, the end of the turn morale phase, absolutely small units are better for withstanding the effects of morale, not from a they don't get killed angle, but from a efficiency point angle.
No, absolutely. It is the morale phase is an absolute thing. MSU, there's pros and cons. I run 15, 20-man Gene Stealer units, and damn it, if I'm out of range from my Trigon Prime or something, I am literally just picking up 5 or 6 more Gene Stealers.
And it's buy one get one free. Like if it was just a 5-man unit, they would have just got the 5.
They would have just got absolutely, and also
instead of they get a bonus 3.
Yep, and then conversely, though, for example, my Ravengers, I run them sometimes in squads of 6. I've numbed it down to squads of 3 and 4. They've only got leadership 5, 3 wounds each. So guess what? I lose 1 or 2. I mean, it's a 50-50 chance that I lose 1 more model. I'm okay with those numbers, and that's like losing 6 wounds. That's like losing 6 Gene Stealers. But all of a sudden, if I get shot up for 6 Gene Stealers, I mean, we're hurting.
Yeah, might as well just been like if you want 20 Gene Stealers, might as well just make it 4 squads of 5.
Yeah. Except I'm kind of holding mine in reserve so I can have big numbers so I can turn my charge.
So there's a case in point, right? So like if you're trying to do some kind of like super gotcha 9-inch charge on turn 1 move, you want to put it all in the one big roll for sure. But if you're talking like I've got this unit, that unit, and this is what they do walking on the battlefield. Like for example, today in my chaos list, I was working on my chaos list. I have a unit of 30 cultists for this big bubble wrap to protect me against subterranean assaults and first turn deep strikes. That I just number crunched and I was like, no, it's 3 10-man units.
Yes, underneath that premise, because that's what I wanted to make sure that everybody understands. NIDs aren't the only one that are turn 1 assaulting. Pretty much every army in the game right now has that ability. So bubble wrap and double bubble wrap is an absolute thing. You are not going to be able to just really reliably bring a all shooty army that sits in your deployment zone if you don't have some kind of bubble wrap, because armies are going to be coming in hot, real hot.
Conversely, your bubble wrap can't just get battle shocked. Just can't get moraled off the table.
Absolutely. So, it's really solid. I like the technique because ready for this combo is with my Ravengers, who basically shoot 18-inch heavy bolters. I'm literally able to pop up, clear out a 10-man unit, and then charge right through. But if that is a layered bubble wrap of like 3 5-mans that I have to kind of inch through, that's a big difference.
Or if it was 120, you cleared 10 out of the 20, and we only have leadership 7. And then you create this huge hole based in the morale phase. Like, you know what I mean? Like it's
no. It's big because then I can assault in and only because morale is done all at the end of the phase, not in between each shooting, assaulting, and everything else is done at the very end. So now I feel it's so much more reliable. It's like, oh, well, I've already done 7-8 wounds to that unit. I'm just going to limp it in with 1 model because it's so much easier to get multi-charges off now. Like, I want everybody to understand that a multi-charge is easier now than it's ever been before. So all you got to do is just, once you've already know you've done 6 or 7 wounds, just go ahead and link another guy in there, throw him a couple more on top, and it's impossible for them.
And with multi-salt, so can a single unit charge 2 units or?
Oh yeah, absolutely.
You have to go like actually direct line, or is it just get to the unit?
It's very open. Again, with how GW has done it, it is these rules. We are looking for more in-depth rules, and they're just not there. But so what is awesome is how one way assaulting armies like you and I will run, Kenny. One way that we get out of this Overwatch, because Overwatch is a thing. It is the truth right now, because we want to talk about these 9-inch charges. Guess what happens when you fail a 9-inch charge? The guy still gets to overwatch the next unit and the next unit and the next. Like, one unit can overwatch 4 or 5 times because everybody's trying these long 9-inch charges and not making them. So
it's not like the old days where like you sucked in with one little unit, took the overwatch, then hit him with the big unit.
Yeah, no, because because we have the option to try to assault on turn 1. And so probably what will end up happening is once that phase is gone, you're going to see people play a little more tactical. So instead of trying to assault on turn 1, they'll just go for the guaranteed close range assault on turn 2, where the likelihood of failing that to where overwatch is less of a thing. But what I like about it is now when you consolidate your 3-inch consolidation, you can consolidate into a unit that is that you did not base in base contact,
because now you're within 1 inch, and now they're in a combat.
If you are within 1 inch, you are in a combat. So you drew an enemy unit in without sucking into Overwatch, and you did it without wasting any of your charge movement. You did it with your one model that was in the back, moved your 3 inches, and got within an inch. You can do that easily on 2 or 3 sides.
There it is.
So, I mean, turtling up and castling up is not the thing. I actually played against a couple different parking lot scenarios where a bunch of Razorbacks and a bunch of this and this. Hey, 5 Ravengers will go and charge. You can't go 1 for 1. I can realistically get 3 or 4 Razorbacks, and they're not shooting me because I can tie them up now. A Ravager squad will no more near kill that. But that same thing can be said with 10 Assault Marines, 10 Raptors coming out of the deep strike and charging. If you tie up some vehicles or tie up units that your opponent, you bunched them all up, I mean, you can lock an opponent down really easy.
Words of wisdom, first impressions. I feel like we've just about done it. Does anyone have anything else to add?
Kenny, I've never been more happy for Forge World than I am right now. Never in the history of ever. I can't wait to see how open Forge World is accepted. I can't wait to see for them to be on the same wavelength. Think about this, guys. This will be the first time in probably, our generation of, late second to third till now edition 40K that GW and Forge World are on the same page. Instead of, I'm going to do my thing. Yeah, I'm going to do my thing. I'm going to create a drop pod and this. All these people are like, oh my God, a Dreadnought can't go in a drop pod anymore. No. GW is probably just like, oh yeah, you're right. I fucked up. You guys created the drop pod for Dreadnoughts. They're going to be back and they're going to be just as accessible as anything else. I can't wait to see the rules line up together. So where my Damasheron is going to be just like this. The Spartan tank is going to be just as badass as a Land Raider. I'm pumped.
Oh yeah. I'm sad I sold my Dreadnought drop pods though.
Yeah, right.
I'm like, oh.
Jason, did you have anything to close us out with?
No, I mean, I think that I'm actually excited to see where all of the 8th stuff goes. I know I've got my rule book coming in. Yes, I know. Everybody wait. Take a deep breath. This is still real reality. So I've got my 8th edition stuff coming in. I'm excited to see where it goes. The models are looking good as always. We already knew that. So the hobby side of it has always been alive from GW. They get better and better every year. I think that I'm always a little bit on the grumpy old man side of the rules because they just can't seem to find a way to write good rules and use good language. It's where the rules lawyering comes in. I'm hoping to see some of that go with this kind of general's handbook feel so that they can update things on a more regular basis and on a more expected basis, I guess. If they keep coming out with a chapter approved, everybody knows when it's coming, then I think the community can rally around that. So I think all the things are trending towards being real positive for it, and that's what the hobby needs, right? We need to make sure that we keep the highs high and the lows as shallow as we can get them, and I think that 8th is looking like the good way to do that. I got positive hopes for it, so we'll see.
Yeah, and then speaking of that, there's a video that's making its way around. The video of Hitler in his bunker from the German film Untergang. Mm-hmm. There's one out there about, I think it's Privateer Press finding out about 8th edition.
But you got it, yep.
And it's beautiful. You guys got to watch it. It's really funny.
Well, Haspil, take us out.
All right. So this will be thematic, and I apologize for not being able to do a female voice, but you want cooler, farm boy? I'll give you cooler. I'll give you cold and simple. We hunt down this Batman like a rabid dog. We kill him. We chop off his head and plant it on a stake and present it to your authorities as their first gift from the Justice League. We announce to all the world that we police our own. And if none of you are man enough, I'll dispatch that psychopath myself.